Ever since I saw this scene in Return of the King, I've been thinking about rewriting the plot points near the climax. Don't get me wrong, it's not that it isn't good or anything, it just feels incredibly underwhelming considering that we just went through the Battle of Minas Tirith. So there's really no need for this final battle to take place before the ring falls into Mount Doom. And so we're gonna explore today my choices behind this re-edit, and if you haven't seen the reimagined sequence, I've left it in the description below. Hi, I'm Omz and welcome to OmzLaw. If you're new to the channel, subscribing will really help me make more content like this. So the Mouth of Sauron scene. I know some of you might not have seen this scene before if you have never seen the extended editions. My version is very different from the films and slightly different from the books. In the books, this conversation occurs mainly between Gandalf and the Mouth of Sauron, but if you've seen my review series on Fellowship of the Ring, I mentioned that bringing Gandalf back in the second and third books really takes away from Aragon's character. So I'm imagining the scene occurring between Aragon and the Mouth of Sauron, keeping Gandalf dead and out of the story. I really think Peter Jackson should have taken out Gandalf in the second and third films, as this gives us ample time to understand Aragon as a character. I did add a few lines to make things a bit clearer, but kept most of the dialogue pretty much intact. In the books, Aragon fights many battles between the Battle of Minas Tirith and this final battle here. But in the films, Aragon is absent from Minas Tirith. He needs to go get a backup army that basically doesn't die and then fights in the final hour. Therefore, developing Aragon as a loving leader here and friend to Frodo is important. Moreover, I really don't think we need another battle. Minas Tirith was a spectacle by itself, and it feels very redundant at this point. What is interesting in regards to the film is that the size of Mordor's army still swamps the forces of Middle-earth, and we can have a very similar build-up after the gate opens and they're surrounded. The Wraiths can come in and Sauron's army can attack, but by shifting the plot point slightly, we first don't need to see that much fighting, and this encounter with the Mouth of Sauron can fill up the time as Frodo and Sam near the entrance and encounter Gollum. Aragon can still charge just as Frodo charges at Gollum. It was honestly not that difficult to intercut this new scene with the rest of the film. Tolkien is such a brilliant writer, and this scene really feels like it could have easily been adapted to screen. I think having Aragon confront the Mouth of Sauron develops his character immensely. Not only is he good in battle, but he's also good with words, which is something we don't get to see with Aragon after the first film. We get to see him as a great warrior and healer, but never as a politician. To be fair, we do get some of that in the Two Towers while he's counseling King Theoden, but he's mostly absent from counseling the Steward of Gondor. In fact, he does not interact with him or Faramir at all. I thought this was a bit lazy on behalf of the writers, but I get why we ended up here, and honestly, just removing Gandalf from the whole story solves a lot of these plot issues. Instead of Aragon getting another army that acts as a deus ex machina and can't really be killed or stopped, we can have Aragon defending the city of Minas Tirith, coming up with tactics and ploys to stop Sauron's army. There's a lot of missed opportunity here, and I think Peter Jackson could have definitely rewritten a lot of the third act in order to develop Aragon more as a king. Now in the scene, we can see how Aragon can become threatening and stern. We can also see how his resolve can be shattered when it comes to his friends. We can see that he is cunning, that he questions the Mouth of Sauron. He buckles under the pressure, yet he refuses to yield, even if Frodo and Sam are no longer alive. Sure, he ends up failing at the negotiations, but at least he bought Frodo some time, hypothetically. In the extended editions, this scene feels underwhelming as it does not stretch out. It just comes in for a few minutes, barely developing the characters, and Aragon slices the Mouth's head off. This doesn't add anything to Aragon besides making him a good swordsman. In this new take on the scene, we can at least see his resolve, his temper, his heartbreak, him being unsure of himself, unsure of what happened to Frodo. Tension can be built up here by cutting back and forth to Sam and Frodo getting closer and closer to Mount Doom. Animating these scenes was relatively simple. This is a style that I used in my previous trailers for my theatrical productions. Basically, you transfer these images into Adobe Illustrator and you apply this live trace effect, which tends to cartoonify. That's not a real word, but it makes the image into these vector objects or shapes. And basically what vector shapes are these shapes or objects inside of the program that can act as the section of the image, if we're talking about the image here. So now that my image is divided, I just took those and turned them into individual layers, which honestly took a lot of time and can be painstaking. So sometimes I took the image into Photoshop, cut it up there, then moved it back into Illustrator, applied the live trace, and then finalized the layers. I then opened up these layers inside of After Effects and applied this parallax type of effect. If you want to know how to do parallax, I've left a link for a tutorial series I'm doing if you guys want to check that out. But basically I took these layers, spread them out at different distances, and then applied a camera with some motion and depth of field to really sell this illusion of depth. I used this technique once in one of my short films with a storyboard artist named Ernesto Sin. I've also linked his channel down here if you want to check out his work. I've always loved exploring this type of animation, this animated storyboard style. I tend to watch manga this way on YouTube. It really adds a whole new dimension to reading and looking at still images. So if you're interested in me doing any scenes from any films that you like, perhaps rewriting the scene in a way that could make it better, then please let me know in the comments below. Like this video if you enjoyed it, as that will also help me with YouTube's algorithm. So the final steps were to record my voice and add a few effects here and there along with some music. I would like to get professional actors in the future once this channel grows, and I can only do that with your help. Subscribe and share this video, and I hope to see you guys next time with more scenes like this. And as always, thank you for watching.